All right, there's a picture, and you know what they say, picture paints 1,000 words, right? I don't remember who said that, but somebody famous did, and they even wrote a song about it, but a picture paints 1,000 words. Yesterday or the day before, this photograph popped up on Facebook. As a matter of fact, the Facebook page threw up in Fall River, I believe first featured this photo, and it was a photo taken from the parade as part of the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament here in New Bedford on Sunday. And it was a photo that was taken right after the parade had concluded. And in the photograph, you see Sheriff Tom Hodgson and his aide, Jonathan Darling, holding a plastic cup, 7-ounce plastic cup of Madeira wine. The photo has a red circle around the service weapon that the sheriff carries on his, I believe it's his right hip in the photograph, and you can see the badge, and you can see the Bristol County Sheriff's emblem on his shirt as well. All right, this has raised some questions out there about whether it is appropriate for the sheriff to be on the job with his badge, with his gun, consuming alcohol. Spoke to the sheriff about it last night, and he's agreed to come on today to address any questions we might have, and he's with us on the line right now. By the way, from Norfolk, where the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association is meeting right now. Sheriff, thanks for taking a few minutes.
Happy to do it, Barry.
So what's the deal with the picture, and what were you up to?
Well, look, Barry, this is really about the people of this county. They know me, and they know my priorities are public safety. We finished. We just finished the Madeira parade. My press information officer, who was actually capturing our department in the parade, down the parade route, was walking back to the car with me, and I asked him because didn't know that he had experienced Madeira wine before, but said, "Hey, you want to grab a quick little cup of Madeira wine? It's sort of a celebratory before we take off." And so he said yes. We went in and we each had one small cup of the Madeira wine. I began walking around with him. We were shaking hands. All kinds of people were coming up, talking with us, and so forth. And after probably 20, 30 minutes, we left. This is not going to some bar, sitting around drinking and pushing down alcohol. This was the end of the Madeira feast. We went and got a cool glass of the Madeira wine, which is a cultural thing, and we sipped that as we walked through for 20, 30 minutes, and got the vehicle, and we went home. And that's as simple as it gets. And there's no law broken here. There's no, we've seen some of there are people who have a very different sort of agenda, want it to be something more than it really is. But the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. And he and I each had one small cup of the Madeira wine, the end of the parade, and went home.
Sheriff, what are the rules and regulations? What are the rules and regulations regarding a law enforcement officer with a weapon and alcohol? Are there rules on the books that govern that type of thing?
There is a law that says you cannot be under the influence of alcohol. Now, being under the influence of alcohol means that your behaviors are being altered by, the much like being under the influence of alcohol when you're driving. It's a very similar thing. We're talking about one cup of Madeira wine that we had at the very end of this parade, and went home. And so, look, this is, I think most people can read into, we know where that first started becoming pushed out, and we know the person that's behind it who's never been a fan of mine, and that's fine. He can have his different points of views and what have you, but you can't change the facts. They are what they are, and I think the people of this county know. I've been sheriff here for 20 years. Public safety is my top priority, and certainly wouldn't put myself or anybody else in a situation where I would be compromising.
Now, obviously, we live in a world of social media. Everything you do, everything you say gets a photograph or quoted somehow or another on social media. So you understand the perception of this, right?
Well, of course. And you know what? I never, ever would have expected that. I mean, I should have thought that maybe there are some people who will try to make something of this. I didn't it didn't occur to me, since we were simply going to be there for a very short period of time. Had one cup of this Madeira wine, and so the one thing that I suppose we learn from things like this is there are people out there who want to perhaps take something and make it into something that satisfies a very different agenda. So, as I say, I think most people know me and have known me for years, and I can't make people believe if they want to believe something different. That's up to them. But I can only give you the facts of what transpired, how this came about, what ultimately happened, how long we were there.
All right, one question that folks have been asking me is what would happen if Sheriff Hodgson was sitting at home last night and he saw some of his deputies perhaps at the feast in a similar situation with wine in their hand? Would there be discipline taken in a case like that?
Well, first of all, the deputies, my deputies, they would be they'd be on duty, I would presume, if they're there, and we don't. I don't recommend that people, go to bars or what have you, and sit there and partake in continually drinking alcohol. Certainly, if you're wearing a weapon. But this is not what happened here. And the long and short of it is, it was a parade. The parade ended. Went and spent close to 30 minutes sipping our wine, talking to different people for 30 minutes, all kinds of people from the community, and left. And it's as simple and as innocent as that.
All right. So, is there a policy for those who do work for you? As you mentioned, if your deputy was there, had a weapon, obviously the deputy would be on duty. Is there a policy for on duty for the deputies that work for you?
Yeah, there is. We do have a policy, absolutely.
Okay.
Keep in mind, for me as a sheriff, I'm on duty 24 hours a day, so there's never a time. If you were to suggest that, once you become the sheriff, that you can't partake in drinking alcohol because you're on duty 24 hours a day, it's a little. I think most people would see that as a little bit over the edge. That's not what's intended by it. But certainly for our people, when they're on duty, that's something that we have as a policy.
All right. I don't think the problem is, I think most people understand, rationally thinking people would understand that you are on duty 24 hours a day, and that you certainly are over 21, and you're going to have a glass of wine every now and then. There's no question about it. I think what the problem became was the picture being what it was, with you in uniform and with your gun and that type of thing, and it just said.
Well, it's not really in my uniform. I was in my golf shirt. And,
it said Sheriff's Department on it, though, right? And you had your badge. Your badge, I believe, was visible in the picture, and your gun was visible. So I think that's where people had questions. I think that's where the questions came in, because of the perception, hey, look, there's the sheriff standing there with booze, with his gun and his badge. I think that's where it was. But I think they understand that at some point.
I get that, Barry. I do get that. And I think, as I say, I think most people recognize that over 20 years that my priority has always been public safety first. Certainly wouldn't put myself in a situation where I certainly plenty of New Bedford police officers there. That if I was sitting there, partaking and just drinking there, that I understand. That wasn't the case. This was a very quick final end to our parade as we were leaving, and a chance to talk to a few people for close to.
Was this a learning experience, Sheriff? Mistake you won't make again?
Oh. Well, you know what? Sure, of course. If people, feel that there's that people get a wrong perception out of something like that, you never want to allow that to be something going forward that people, people would perceive that there's something wrong, because they wouldn't know how long I was there if you hadn't interviewed me, or if people hadn't asked me, they wouldn't have any clue, and they could make the presumption, as you say, that oh geez, this is a sort of a drinking fest, and so I get that. It's not something that certainly I want to have people even perceive.
All right, Sheriff, I know you got to get back in your meetings. You're at the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association meeting in Norfolk, meeting with your colleagues from throughout Massachusetts. What are you guys chatting about?
Well, we're talking about a number of things. Immigration, of course. We've been talking about the opioid crisis and what we need to do to try to help in the prisons to get people into the treatment and get them on a reentry plan. Those types of things that are current issues that are ongoing.
All right, Sheriff, I appreciate you facing the music here and taking some questions and making some time for us this afternoon.
Always. Thank you, Barry, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, we'll chat again. Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson saying in hindsight, maybe not a good idea, but said we didn't do anything to violate the laws or the rules, but also making the point that this would not be tolerated if it was one of his deputies who was found to be in that situation. So